Tim here, Forbes contributor and founder of Profit Factory. Today I've got the wonderful opportunity to visit with Mr. Jeff Madoff, who is the founder of Madoff Productions. Madoff Productions has done extensive video work in the world of fashion, including Victoria's Secret and Ralph Lauren. Jeff's also a guest lecturer at the Parsons New School for Design, and obviously has done some incredible work in multi-billion-dollar companies building their brands. Jeff, how are you today?
Good. Thank you for that nice introduction. I shouldn't screw it up by talking now.
Tell us a little bit about, in your opinion, the difference between brands and branding.
There's oftentimes, and it's a big mistake, no distinction drawn between brands and branding. So it's a great question, because a brand is what the promise a company holds out is. The brand is, as some stated, the DNA of a company. To give you an example, Ralph Lauren, their brand is good taste, status. Apple, hip innovation. The branding, however, is something very different. The branding is, how do you get the name out there? You know, how do you advertise and market your company so that that brand message is communicated to the consumer base you want to reach? So you can't do branding, and this is the big mistake a lot of companies make. You can't do branding without a clear brand identity. So you can do tons of advertising, but that's not branding. You can do tons of marketing, that's not branding. You first have to establish the clarity of your brand message. Then you're ready to start your branding. And a lot of companies conflate the two.
That's a great point. When I think about some of the marketing training I've received, and very much the world of internet marketing has this idea that only big dumb companies focus on branding. And I think part of what they mean by that is to go out and do just an awareness campaign of billboards. I mean, it's true that a small business can't afford big billboards and big ad campaigns, and yet what you're saying is that's branding as far as billboards versus TV. For you though, it sounds like deeper is the idea of a brand, and that doesn't require a multi-million-dollar budget to do. Can you talk about that?
Well, first of all, these big dumb companies, Apple's big. I certainly wouldn't call them dumb.
Right.
Ralph Lauren is big. Victoria's Secret is big. Wouldn't call them dumb either.
No kidding.
So that notion, I think, is oftentimes a straw man that's set up, oftentimes by direct marketers, who, in order to provoke the idea of you don't need to do that to do this, and this will make you money, I think sets up a false opposition from the get-go. And Apple started in a garage. Ralph Lauren started in a small office in the Empire State Building with ties in his bottom desk drawer. So these companies weren't born big companies, they grew. But when Ralph Lauren went public in 1996, he didn't do it to cash in. He did it because he needed the money to grow his business. And the asset that he had wasn't the clothing that he had in warehouses all over the country, the retail space that he had all over the world. The asset he had was a recognized global brand. And that's the asset that attracted the money when they went public. And his public offering went way above what they thought the initial offering would be. So that brand is the largest piece of equity that any good company has.
So when we pull apart the idea of brands and branding, it sounds like, in your opinion, we should be conscientious about our brand right from day one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not too early ever to think about what your company is. And that's really what a brand is. It's what is the story of your company. And a brand is a story that's well told. And the branding is then telling that story, and through all the various outlets that you tell that story through, be that online, in print, direct mail, whatever. That's the branding part. It's telling the story out there. But that first and essential part is the core idea of your story, of your brand, before you go out and tell it. You know, an actor would never go out on stage without having gotten the script down. And in a sense, a brand is a script. And it's the story that everybody who's aligned in that company operates from. And I think that that oftentimes, again, is overlooked. But, you know, you look at Apple, and Tim Cook took over, but the company is the same company because that story of innovation started with Wozniak and Jobs and has continued. Ralph Lauren is going to be celebrating their 50th year in business this year. That's an accomplishment in and of itself, but that story has been consistent, the story of status and good taste. So I think in any good brand, you see that story through line, and then the ways they reach that consumer through the branding is what's changed, basically because of technology.
This has been fascinating. Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate all your insights on the difference between brands and branding.
Thank you.